In your last moments, what do you think the most regretted or wished missed opportunity people have in their final moments? On their deathbed, when they've only got a little bit of time left, what do you think is the number one thing they wish they had or hadn't done?
So if I'm going to picture this moment and just try to place myself there, I believe the answer is probably going to be family. I'm going to wish I spent a little more time with my wife. Just hanging out with my wife, maybe seeing my family. But it's probably not going to be, I wish I did one more sale at work. Probably not going to be that.
Okay. Let me ask you this, though. What if, because I hear that a lot,
Yeah.
It probably wasn't work, right? Mm-hmm. But how many times do you think it might be, man, I wish I had achieved that goal?
I'm fully on board here.
And maybe that was a career goal, right? Mm-hmm. I wish I'd made it to CEO, mm-hmm. or I started that business I wanted to, mm-hmm. or I, whatever, XYZ, career goal. I think maybe that happens more than people realize, because it's the first thing I think that people respond to that question is, oh, well, work doesn't matter, and, family's probably the number one, which I think for a lot of people, that's probably the answer, But what if you have a career goal? How about that?
I think if the underlying reason behind the career goal is to do good, then I can absolutely see that. If on deathbed, if let's say, you're going to think, hey, you know what? I wish I spent more time with family. I think that's going to be top of the list. But if up there with that is, I wish I had done more good. I wish I had helped more people. I wish I had accomplished this goal, because the only to have accomplished that goal is to have helped more people.
I gotcha. So kind of like, how some of the richest people in history end their life with a lot of philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. What do you do? What do you do with the people that are just not happy people? Right? They're miserable at the end. They're not happy. They don't have a lot of friends or family, and they're not happy. What do you think their biggest regret is?
That's a phenomenal question.
Do
you think maybe they would have wished? So if I place myself there for a moment, mm-hmm. I'm miserable. I'm just on the deathbed. Doctor comes and says, hey, it's probably going to be tonight. Am I afraid? Is that my key emotion? Or am I focusing on I wish I would have taken a chance. I wish I would have been shown bravery some earlier time in my life to try to, if not change the outcome, to at least have made a better memory and impact there. I'd probably be thinking, well, what does it matter if I even go at this point?
I wonder if it's less of a regret and more of just indifferent to the knowledge that you couldn't, or maybe a better way to phrase that is, you're indifferent to the fact that you could have done more, but you didn't. And so now you're just miserable about it. I wonder if that maybe happens more so in that situation where people aren't so much, I regret that I didn't do XYZ thing, but more of a, well, it didn't turn out this way, and so now it's just whatever. In those situations, with those type of people, I wonder if it's less of a regret and more of a just indifferent to the events that happened in your life. Maybe, it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. So now I'm just old and grouchy. Because, if you think about, like you go to a nursing home or something like that, and a lot of the people don't seem happy, right? They seem frustrated and miserable.
Do you think those people on the whole are frustrated and miserable because of the situation they're in, or because they don't feel like they're being cared for, not by the staff but by their family, or both?
What if they don't have any family?
Do you think then those people wish that they would have somebody who would love them still?
Maybe.
And is there really the difference between apathy and regret? That's probably pretty big, but when you're probably staring down the face of the end, I don't know how many people would have the, all right, whatever. I mean, they might outwardly say that, but internally, I don't know.
I just wonder how many of them are just mad at the world that they didn't get what they felt they deserved out of it.
Okay, that...
Maybe that's a better way to say it. Like, they feel like they were owed something in life, like a certain life or something, and they feel like they didn't get that, and so they're mad at the world for not giving them that. Maybe kind of that, like, victim mentality, if you will, of where I was owed this, or I didn't get what was deserved to me, and it's the world's fault that I'm in this situation.
That would be a absolutely miserable place to be. That would probably be about the worst.
I wonder
how you've taken any chance of... I mean, at least people who have regret think for a moment, oh, I should have done something different. Because if it's my fault, then maybe I could do something. You can't probably change the outcome. You're about to die. But you can at least help learn a lesson. But if the lesson is the universe is bad and God hates me, there's probably not a lot you can do about that. That's too big of a regret. I mean, an item to fight. But if it's you, if you're the problem, if you're the regret, you can probably work on that.
Well, maybe it just gives you more peace of mind in the end, right? Knowing that, it is what it is, rather than, your whole life was based on, doomed to fail because the universe wasn't going to give you what you wanted, I guess. I wonder if that's the situation that some of the people are in that you see that are so unhappy and miserable in the end. Mm-hmm. And kind of, and even people that the world would consider successful, or, at least, fairly decent off. They had a family, they had some friends, they did decently well in their career. But I just wonder if maybe that could explain, because I think for a lot of people, the answer would be family, right? I wish I spent more time with my kids, or I'd spent more time with my spouse, or here's a big one. I wonder how many people, and I guess you may never know, but I wonder how many people had that, that one issue or problem with somebody, and I wonder how many of them in the end go, I wish I would have forgave them, versus how many people go, screw that guy, I wish I never knew him. In the end, I wonder how that, because, there's a lot of people out there, there's people they don't like, they don't get along with, maybe a family member, a friend, right? Somebody did you wrong. Mm-hmm. I wonder how that changes in the end, right? Mm-hmm. Do people say, man, I wish I would have forgave him and moved on and not let that eat at me? Mm-hmm. Or does it just intensify, right?
I think that eat at me thing, I think you're really onto something there. Because if you're holding a grudge against someone, that's you carrying a backpack with a brick in it all the time.
Yeah.
If you're carrying that every single day, then once every 6 months you toss another brick in there. After about 3 years, you're carrying a lot of weight in there. Mm-hmm. And imagine if you're like on your deathbed and you still have to carry that brick because you said, I'm not putting this down.
Yeah.
And I wonder that moment there, as you're like, this is the end. Is it really worth it? What would it feel like to take that backpack off?
Yeah. I wonder how many people, go that route, or how many of them maybe clutch it even tighter. Mm-hmm. How many people just hold on to that grudge, or even maybe not so much as a grudge, but just a choice to actively not want to be around somebody, or dislike somebody, or, feel wronged in some way. I guess I don't know maybe I'm not describing that the best way, but I wonder how that changes in the end.
Well, I wonder if we could think about that a little earlier in life before we're at the end.
Right.
If we would still make the same decisions today.
I wonder if your mindset can't process the depth of it until you're there. Because I'm sure people have to think about that, right? Like you're holding a grudge, and I don't know, maybe not, but I feel like even if you think about it, until you get to the end where you realize it's over, I don't think that's something you can really conceptualize until you're there.
And if you have that, what would it take for that moment to be real ahead of schedule? Yeah. So I was chatting with a client earlier today, and they said, hey, you only have one body, take care of it. And she was having some hip replacement, doing the other one coming up here soon. And she's like, if I had known this in, 30 years ago, I would have behaved different. No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have listened to me either. And I'm like, that is a very true item for most people. Like, I have some items in my mind that that older me is going to be very happy that younger me would make some changes. Yeah. I know a couple things I should do, so why am I not doing them?
Yeah. Well, I almost wonder now that you mentioned that, we're talking about how many people would let go of a grudge, or, forgive that person or whatever. But, I wonder how that applies to the people who are given a second chance along their life and they still don't take it then, right? Like, maybe you had a very, very near-death medical experience where, like, you almost passed away, right? But you made it through by some miracle. And then they turn around and, they don't do anything with it, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's maybe not quite so much that, but rather, like the people that win the lottery, They start with nothing, they win the lottery, and then a decade later, they're back to being broke. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much that applies in the same concept, right? Mm-hmm.
That second chance, I think, is a really big item here. So, and like you said, the medical item, that's the one that comes to the front of the mind. That's the low hanging fruit for this example. Another one would be, what if someone who beat an addiction, who beats the dark thoughts that are really hard to get rid of, the person who beats that can feel that relief of a second day, of a second chance.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the medical one. The medical is that's physical. We all get that. That's every story. Mm-hmm. But a lot of us every day have been given a form of a second chance.
Yeah.
Like, it's a super silly example here, but if I had $1 million in cash sitting right here, I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and give you $1 million in cash, but you don't get to wake up tomorrow.
You would hope most people wouldn't take it, but
now, so let's play it out for us though. I'll offer you $1 million, but you don't get to have tomorrow. You say, of course not. I'm not taking the cash. What if I give you a year? 10 years. Uh-huh. Yeah. At what point in the future do you now take the money?
Yeah.
Or is it no, because I don't want to actually know when it's going to happen? But that second chance, I want to come back to that. That is hugely powerful. Mm-hmm. And as a society, there's a true sadness of seeing someone not living up to their potential.
Yeah. I heard it once say that, and I don't know where this came from, but I remember hearing it somewhere, but it was, and it may have even be so frivolous as from a movie quote, but it's still, I think pretty pertinent to what we're talking about. It's a saying that men have 2 lives, and the first one starts when you realize that fact. Or I think it's the second one starts when you realize you only have one.
That's huge. That is an amazing quote. Say it again.
So people have 2 lives, and the second one starts when you realize you only have one. Or another example would be, if I gave you $1 million, but it all went away at the end of the day, would you do your best to spend it? And then you turn around and realize you're given so many minutes in a day, you don't get to keep them. Why aren't you doing the best to use them?
So at the beginning, we started this out talking about, the possible regrets on the deathbed. And I said, hey, I'd like to spend time with my family. Well, in the time with my family, I'm probably not at a movie theater watching that movie together. We're probably doing an activity together.
Yeah.
And I think this is it's a little more old world that I can see coming back a bit, where the time with the family is that challenge. It's the activity. It's the family building a business together. It's the father and son working on building their home. Working on that banister, hanging that picture, mounting the television, because I don't know how to do that. And my dad does, and he has the tools, and I'm super grateful because if I did it, that sucker is falling down. Yeah. So it's that item there.
Going fishing or something like that. Yeah. Which, now that you bring that up, it actually makes me wonder. So if the majority of people's biggest regret on their deathbed probably is family, how do you proactively change that now? Because think about this. Even though you only get so many minutes with the people you love, how will that ever still be enough? Because you're still eventually that time's going to run out. And even if you spent every waking moment with them, odds are you're still going to wish you had more.
I don't think it's wrong to wish you had more. I think it's making the most of every single day. And for a lot of people, they get up, they go to work, and I'm putting that in big quotes here just for the emphasis, and they don't really care because they don't believe the job they're going to has any impact. They don't believe their time is being valued enough for what they're doing. But they don't feel like there's a way out of that where they can spend their time doing something that matters. So I would say, take a moment and play that out. What would it feel like on the deathbed? And looking back, what do you wish you would have done? And then tomorrow or tonight, write it down and take the first smallest step toward that.
You're looking for what actions can I take today so that when my time does come, I can go in peace, right? Where I'm happy with the life that I lived, and I'm at peace with the things that I did, because I made the most of the time that I had.
That you gave honor to the gift that we were given of every single day and time. That's take every thought captive, take every action intentionally. Because you do not know if the moment you're speaking to someone, if you're the last person they're going to speak to, or the last person you're going to speak to. And really, is that the phrase you wanted to say if that was your last thing? Is that it? Does that really want to start the conversation up top? Makes me rethink a lot of things I say.
Yeah. I think a good example of this is, I've heard it seen it and heard it a couple times now, is when a lot of people are talking about Charlie Kirk's legacy, right? I've heard it said that he left a lot of work unfinished, but he didn't leave anything undone. He didn't leave any unfinished business. He left a lot incomplete, but he didn't leave anything unfinished. He did the most with what he could and what he had.
If you had to go not in your sleep, but doing something, I think finding what you'd be so passionate about that you'd be willing to say, hey, this was the moment I was called home. Well, I was mid doing good in the world, just doing excellent things, putting good out there, worship, taking care of people, shining the light. I believe that peace will come when you know you've done as much as you can.
Yeah.
Or you're mid doing everything you can.
Yep. It's a hard pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of people, because it makes you reprioritize your life, your thoughts, your whole life. What's important to me, what's important to my future, and what am I going to prioritize?
And then what's the step we're going to take tomorrow to make that non-regret a reality? We're almost pushing ourselves toward what does it mean to live a meaningful life.
Right.
And sometimes you got to run from a dread, totally fine at times. But the next mature level is running toward the dream of a good life, a peaceful ending, or at peace with yourself and your creator at that time.
Yeah. Yep. That's good stuff.
It's hard.
Yeah, hard but good. Because, where do you...
It's easy just to put ourselves there for a moment and realize, I need to make a phone call.
Yeah. Well, not only a phone call, but just what really does matter, right? Because you think about, well, what am I going to do tomorrow? Well, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to XYZ, take the kids here, do this, there, and you're like, well, does any of that really matter? Am I doing anything that really matters? In light of eternity, am I working towards something that's going to matter?
Yeah.
Or am I just spending my days doing nothing of importance?
And really diving into what it means to be doing something of importance.
Yeah. Because I think it doesn't have to be saving the world or whatever. You don't have to be Mother Teresa. But I think really identifying what is important to you and then aligning your life to make sure that fits.
Grow where you are planted.
Yeah.
There's a story that goes is someone's walking on the beach with his kid, and he sees a starfish on the ground. He picks it up, and there's thousands and thousands of them on the beach. It's a beautiful morning. Picks it up and tosses it way into the ocean. And he takes another 20 feet and picks up another one, tosses it into the ocean. And his kid looks like, Dad, what are you doing? There's 1,000 starfish here. Why are you throwing those ones? Don't matter. And he's like, to that one, it mattered. You're talking about the doing something meaningful. This last several months, for some reason, has been very emotional for me. So a couple nights ago, over at my parents' house, and as I'm, I give my parents a hug when I leave, and get into the car, start driving, and we're not even a block away yet. I look over at my wife and say, I just want to give him another hug. And I'm like, oh, it's silly. I just want to give him another hug. And my wife says, well, give him another hug. So I reverse the car, I pull back into the driveway, and I just bear hug both my parents. And the fact that I can still do that, even it's goofy. Yeah, I had just seen him 45 seconds earlier, but in that moment, I'm like, I need to hug my parents.
Yeah.
And I know neither one of my parents can do that. The Lord has different plans for them on this one, but we can still do this.
I wonder how long you would have regretted not doing it.
Yeah,
I
what
wonder
if,
how
what if
many
that was the moment?
How many days would you have thought about that going, man, I wish I would have went back and gave him another hug. Right, because it seems silly. But
Right?
But I think it matters more than people realize. You know?
So go hug your parents. If you need them, do the phone call.
Yeah.
Was it the...
Cause I'd be willing to bet that most people watching this, they've got somebody in mind.
Just call them. Tell them you love them.
Yep.
It may not mean a lot to you, but it might mean everything to them.
Yep. Do something tomorrow that matters.